Yeah, we're back here on the program, The Platform, and we're having a conversation with Richard Beckford and Sheldon McLean. And let's ask Sheldon about self-esteem and what the band does to young people in terms of building self-esteem. Because there are a lot of young men with very low self-esteem, you agree?
Yeah.
What does the band does and music to build your level of self-esteem?
Well, it goes back to what Mr. Beckford was saying about, you know, when you give somebody a horn or some drumsticks and you tell them, you know, they have to learn these 26 rudiments, you know, when you give me that and I start off and I can't play not one note, but then a week or maybe 2 weeks later, I can play all 26 rudiments. I can play everything you just told me to. That automatically builds my self-esteem. I can do something now that I couldn't do before. And I can show you that, look, this is where I started and this is where I am. Progress is going to build self-esteem, you know.
It always does, eh? And you find that to be true, Beckford?
Absolutely, and he's a prime example of that. Oh my gosh, he's a prime example. This guy's self-esteem was low, so to the point where, although he was always a smart kid, he was a smart aleck, and you know, he really didn't believe in himself. He talked a good game, but he didn't really believe in himself.
Sheldon, did you wear your pants below your hip?
You know, let me tell you something. My mother is a Jamaican woman, and she even if I would think to do it, you know, I might try it because I see somebody do it, but it wasn't gonna happen like that. You know, I always knew what not to do.
And saying that, Beckford, would you say that the level of delinquency among young children, or young men in particular, is really attributable to the level of delinquency in parents?
Absolutely. What I've found in the last 20 years of being an educator is the children haven't changed. The children haven't changed, and a prime example is we had a rehearsal at the Baptist Society Band last week, my first rehearsal with those guys, and I watched them for the first 5 minutes run around. They weren't doing anything bad. They were just undisciplined, absolutely undisciplined.
Where was this?
This was at the St. John's Church.
Okay. On Meeting Street?
Yes.
Okay.
And I just gave them a chance to do their thing. 5 minutes, I captured their attention, and the parents were kind of watching to see if we were going to, you know, how this was going to happen. In 10 minutes, they were sitting absolutely still. And for the next 3 hours, they sat there and received the lesson and was very, very engaged. And so it wasn't, the kid didn't change. Kids don't change. What happens is our parents nowadays have a sense of entitlement. We don't want to do the same thing our parents did to us, because when we were kids, we were like, that was kind of rough, and I'm never going to do that to my child. But some of those things that our parents did in holding us accountable was essential to our development and having boundaries. Our kids today don't have boundaries, and it's a lot of times it's our fault. I think about my own children when I gave them their cell phones, and then they all started talking. The next thing you know, I'm telling them, why are you on the phone so late? I had to go back in there and put boundaries on my children's telephone, because I'm the parent, and I want you to have this phone, but I need to give them boundaries. And a lot of times we've done it for 14 years, not giving them boundaries. Now they're starting to be delinquent, and now we want to try to put boundaries on them. You need programs that's going to help parents harness those kids and help them develop their own boundaries, because we didn't do a good job of helping them, you know, understand that boundaries are good for you. It keeps you safe when you are fighting inside of a ring rather than outside. You know, you get to bounce off the ropes. I had an example with my young godson, with my children, and I said, look, watch this. And I took, they said, get him out of that crib, Dad. So I took him out of the crib and I let him in the living room. I was like, watch this. And he went around, he started pulling down the lamp, he was grabbing the rope, and next thing you know, he got hurt. And I said, watch this. So I took him and I put him back in the playpen, and he cried for about 5 minutes. I said, just don't pay him any mind. 5 minutes went by and he calmed down. I gave him a couple of toys. Now he had the parameters of that playpen to play in, and he was having the greatest time. He wasn't getting hurt. He cried about it at first, but if we just ignore the cry because we know that's where he needs to be. After he gets a little older, I'll be able to take him out the playpen. Now you'll have the living room. But I can't let him go outside every day because he's going to do something out there until he develops the ability to manage himself outside. So we got to give our kids little by little. And what the band does is I'm pretty stringent in the beginning. And as they develop musicianship, I know that they're developing their character. And as they develop their character, I give them more and more space to be free because we ultimately have to give them that opportunity to exercise the things that they've learned so they can grow.
What you say is that many societies then are failing, not mainly due to the indiscipline of young people, but mainly to the indiscipline of parents.
Or the lack of structure.
One and the same.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and that is exactly right. We need to provide programs that
parenting skills.
Absolutely, and you might not be able to teach when a parent understands that their child is teachable, now all of a sudden they have hope again, and sometimes we give up hope the minute they get potty trained. We start saying, "Now he's talking back to me, and I don't want to deal with it the way mom dealt with me when I thought about talking back." But you're ultimately developing behavior that's going to lead to delinquency. And we can't abuse our children, but we can't allow them not to be disciplined. It's detrimental. Absolutely.
When a young child, 3-year-old child, the mother spanks the child and the child slaps the mother, what do you say? Well, what causes that?
That didn't happen in that instant. That was a progressive behavior that occurred over a period of time where that child, he couldn't even think that it was okay to slap mom back because he cried and mom came to his attention and he pushed her and he's like, "No, Johnny." Something happened over a period of time to make him feel like he could slap her. That does not happen one day. A child is up and slap. Nor does a child is up and rob a bank. Over a period of time, he felt like it was okay and I would be able to get away with it because somebody overlooked some things in the process.
You are a product of your environment.
Yes. Yes.
And how do you, and you are seeking to undo these things through music.
Absolutely.
That young boy who at 3 slapped the mother, and the boy is now 13 and is a rude boy. All right?
Yes.
You, Mr. Beckford, you're trying to undo 10 years of misbehavior, and you're telling me that you can fix that, and you've become successful in fixing that problem.
When you look into a kid's eyes, when I look into your eyes,
Yes.
there's some things that I see. And when you look into my eyes, there's things that you can see. We feel each other just because of the way we look in each other's eyes. When I look into a 13-year-old's eyes, he knows that I understand him. He knows that I'm not afraid of the rebellious spirit that's operating inside of him. And it goes back to the spiritual aspect of it. Those demons that are operating in our children through the music, through the culture, needs to understand that you as a man or a woman or a role model will stand up to that entity, and you will not allow yourself to succumb to the whining or the whatever. That demon understands that, and that it goes back to what the Bible says about us walking in authority. You have to be able to walk in authority when you're dealing with our children because they need us to be authoritative. They need us to be authoritative, and sometimes we back off because of their mischief. That's the last thing we need to do. We need to look at that kid and say, "I know what's going on with you, and you will not in this program conduct yourself that way, but I want you here. You need to be here. I need you here so you can change. But when you're here, we're going to love you to death, but that demon can't come with it. You and that guy have to separate at some point." Ultimately, the kid makes the choice because he wants to be welcome. Kids want to be disciplined.
Now, Sheldon McLean, I work with some young people who wear their pants a little low. If you listen, I'll point. All right. But how do I get them to understand that they should wear their pants like young Sheldon McLean?
I mean, to me, it's all about perception. You know, what do I want to be perceived as? You know, do I want to be perceived as someone who carries their pants below their waist? You know, that may send the image that I'm not someone about business. You know, but I want, when I walk in here, you know, I'm amongst men that are I'm not gonna say way older than me, but who are older than me, and I want you to respect me as a man. You know, so how am I gonna present myself to you all? I'm not gonna come in here with my pants below my waist and looking like a ragamuffin. No, I'm going to come in here as professional as I know how, you know, so that I can get to the level where you all are. It's perception.
How do you, Mr. Beckford, get a child to look at your world that you created through music and go back to the world which Jones called chaotic, just, you know,
one day
unstable,
yeah.
abusive.
Yeah.
You know, how do you know? That's a tough decision for, you know.
It is.
Yeah, because the child comes from a chaotic environment, comes to your band room. You are imparting some discipline, imbuing that person with a high level of discipline, but he goes back to a chaotic environment. Sometimes you are fighting against
Odds.
the odds, aren't you?
Absolutely, and I'm sure he has something to say about that. Let me start by saying that eventually that child understands that he feels better where there's structure, and he feels unsafe where there's no structure. Most of my students enjoy being at practice more than they do at being at home, because there is structure, there is love. And they start understanding, this is what I need because I grow here. Over there, I'm just putting on a face just to survive. And so they make the decision ultimately that it's better to be in a place where there's structure. You know?
I mean, the one word that describes why this gentleman's system works is discipline. You know, if you're in that environment at home, a chaotic environment at home, and then you come to somewhere where you have to sit down and be quiet, and you have to keep your feet at a certain angle, and you have to sit up a certain way, and you learn that structure is making you better. At some point you're going to pick, and in most cases you're going to pick the one that's structured, and usually when that structured one is your way out of that chaotic environment. So hence, you know, the scholarships. If you're telling me all I have to do is do what you say, and I can get money to go to school, I go to school and get paid to go to school. You know, you telling me all I got to do is do what you say? I'm doing that. I'm out of here.
Interesting. I believe we are out of time. Are we? No? Yes? Yes, okay. But I'd like to congratulate you both for the fine work that you're doing. And Sheldon, you seem to be a good young role model. And you're doing a fantastic job, Mr. Beckford.
And also,
we need 100 Richard Beckfords in the Bahamas.
well, in all fairness to Mr. Beckford, you have people like Sergeant Orly Dean and lady was
Ruby Saunders,
Ruby Saunders and
Selma Labarity.
Yeah, these kinds of people who are in the trenches in this country. The day in and day out, this Camp Road breakfast program.
And so there is hope. There is hope.
Absolutely.
And you're working with Baptist young people now?
Well, I'm working with all young people.
No, I'm in New Providence.
Well, I had the opportunity to share my methodology with the Baptist Church.
Okay.
And I want to be able to share it with everyone.
Very good. Well, thank you so very much for being here today. Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you. Thank you, Gafrenius. Thank you for watching and listening to our program this evening. We hope that it has been instructive, and we hope that we had many parents who were listening today, and they would adopt some of what you heard from Mr. Beckford as well as from young Mr. McLean. Thank you for watching again. Good evening, everyone.